There is a city you cannot reach. It sits half a mile off the Lebanese coast, walls rising 150 feet straight out of the water, surrounded on every side by open sea. The most experienced navy in the Mediterranean world patrols the channel around it. It has never been taken, not by Assyria, not by Babylon, not by Egypt, not by anyone who tried in 2,000 years of people trying. In 332 BC, a 24-year-old general stood on the shore and looked at it. His name was Alexander. He was somewhere in the middle of dismantling the Persian Empire, and he decided he wanted that city. Tyre was the commercial engine of the ancient world. Phoenician purple dye, cedar wood from Lebanon, silver trade routes stretching from Spain to Mesopotamia, all of it flowed through Tyre. It sat on an island separated from the mainland by roughly 800 meters of open sea, and its walls were built directly from the seafloor on 3 sides, some sections rising 150 feet of solid masonry above the waterline. The Tyrians had outlasted every siege in their history by the same logic. Let them come. The sea will handle it. Alexander sent ambassadors asking permission to enter the city and offer sacrifice at the temple of Melkart, the Phoenician god his own lineage claimed kinship with. The Tyrians killed the ambassadors. Then they threw the bodies off the walls into the sea. They knew exactly who he was. Every city for the last 1,000 miles had calculated its odds and opened its gates. The Tyrians calculated, looked at 800 meters of open water, and threw his people into it anyway. Because for 2,000 years, that calculation had been correct. What they couldn't factor in was that Alexander didn't process the physical world the way other commanders did. Where other generals saw an obstacle, he seems to have seen an engineering problem that hadn't been solved yet. That afternoon, he ordered the construction of a road through the sea.
What engineers call the structure is a mole, an artificial causeway built by filling open water with solid material until it becomes land you can march an army across. Alexander's plan was to drive one straight from the mainland to the island, 800 meters through water that reached 18 feet deep in the middle, wide enough for siege towers to roll across on wooden wheels. His men stripped the ancient mainland city of Old Tyre down to its foundations and threw it into the ocean. Stone, timber, rubble, dirt, everything. In the shallows near shore, the work moved quickly. The mole pushed outward. You could watch it grow from the walls of the island, day after day, getting closer. Then the seafloor dropped, the current hit, and the character of the project changed entirely. The landfill started shifting sideways. The Tyrians, who had been watching from the walls, came out fighting. Their warships sorted through the harbor, rained fire and arrows onto the workers, and retreated back behind the city before Alexander's forces could cut them off. He built wooden towers on the forward edge of the mole to give his archers cover. The Tyrians loaded a cargo ship with pitch, dry timber, and sulfur and sailed it directly into his towers at night. The towers caught, the fire spread along the leading edge of the mole. Workers ran. By morning, weeks of construction were ash and floating rubble. Any other general reads that as a sign from the gods. Alexander read it as 2 pieces of information. The Tyrian navy was the real problem, and the mole wasn't wide enough. He went personally to negotiate warships from the coastal cities he had already taken, Sidon, Byblos, Cyprus, and within weeks had assembled more than 200 warships which he deployed on both flanks of the mole to intercept any future sortie. Then he rebuilt the burn section, widened the whole structure, brought in fresh labor from the surrounding region, and kept going. He didn't find a different solution. He repaired the one that had been burned and walked it forward.
7 months. That is how long the mole was under construction. It advanced through spring, through summer heat, through constant Tyrian harassment. Workers were killed. Sections that collapsed were rebuilt. The Tyrian engineers fought back with everything the island gave them. They poured burning sand over the walls onto the men below, because burning sand slides under armor, sticks to skin, and cannot be brushed off or washed away. They rigged cranes on the battlements to drop grappling cages onto Alexander's siege towers and drag soldiers off the platforms at height. They sunk boulders and debris into the harbor approaches to stop his ships from reaching ram distance. Every meter of road he built toward them, they spent preparing to survive what came across it. The Greek historian Arrian, writing from eyewitness accounts gathered about a century after the siege, recorded the Tyrian defensive operations with something close to professional respect, listing their countermeasures the way you'd describe an opponent who had studied the problem seriously and brought every available solution to bear. He wasn't wrong to. The Tyrians were defending with genuine ingenuity on an island being slowly strangled against a force that had already beaten every army it had met. It wasn't enough. By the 7th month, the mole reached the island.
Alexander rolled his siege towers across the causeway, 9 stories tall, iron-plated, the largest constructed in the ancient world at that point in history, straight to the walls. A section on the south face gave way under the battering rams. His infantry went through the breach. Simultaneously, his fleet broke the northern harbor entrance. The defenders who had held for 7 months were suddenly fighting on 3 fronts. The city fell the same afternoon the wall broke. 7 months of construction, one afternoon.
What happened when the walls came down is not something most accounts spend much time on. Alexander killed most of the surviving soldiers where they stood. Approximately 30,000 civilians were sold into slavery. The ancient historian Diodorus Siculus recorded the number without apparent commentary, the way you'd record a livestock transaction. 2,000 men were crucified along the shoreline, their bodies stretching in a line down the coast, visible to every ship moving through those waters for months. The ancient sources just report it and move on. But here's the thing about the Tyrian refusal that most accounts never address. They weren't being irrational. They'd thought it through. Alexander didn't conquer cities, he dissolved them. Every city that submitted was absorbed, their gods renamed, their institutions replaced or reorganized under Macedonian administration, their cultural identity slowly overwritten into something Greek and universal and Macedonian. The Tyrians had watched this happen up and down the coastline for years, and they understood what surrender actually meant. It wasn't survival. It was the same destination approached more slowly, with less agency, and nothing at the end. They chose the fight. They extracted 7 months and half a mile of ocean from the most dangerous commander alive. Whether that was the right call is a question the Tyrians who survived presumably had complicated feelings about. The ones who were still alive to have feelings anyway.
Here is the part almost nobody mentions when they tell this story. The causeway is still there. 2,350 years later, the structure Alexander's army built from the rubble of old Tyre has collected silt and sediment and expanded into a permanent landmass. The modern city of Tyre, Sur, in southern Lebanon, sits on a peninsula that did not exist in 333 BC. It came into existence because a young general needed somewhere to roll his towers across, and the sea filled in around the road he left behind. He permanently altered the geography of the Mediterranean coastline while trying to destroy a city. The modern historian Robin Lane Fox, who spent years retracing Alexander's campaigns, noted that the mole at Tyre is one of the few physical remnants of Alexander's world that survived the centuries not as a ruin but as actual functional land. Land people live on and build houses on and walk across every day without any particular awareness of what it is or where it came from. Most of what Alexander made was eventually dismantled, renamed, or absorbed into something else. The road through the sea is still the road through the sea. Whether you want to call him a military genius or something closer to a force of nature that happened to have ambitions and a cavalry is a question historians have been working on for 23 centuries without reaching a verdict. He conquered more territory before 30 than most empires managed in their entire histories. He also sold 30,000 people in an afternoon and crucified 2,000 more along the beach, and he did both with what the historical record suggests was the same uncomplicated decisiveness. The record doesn't offer you a clean answer, it just gives you what he did. What he did at Tyre was look at half a mile of open ocean and decide it was a construction site. He built a road through the sea because a city told him no. The road is still there. The sea moved around it.